The sixth house continued. Jupiter in the sixth house. Jupiter is the expansive, benevolent, and wise mentor that leads us towards our highest potential. In Jupiter, we all have a cosmic cheerleader who is ever optimistic for our future successes. Jupiter rules spiritual wisdom, intuition, and the realm of the higher mind. His regal presence evokes the light of truth and morality. When Jupiter is in the sixth house, your habit patterns are infused with a jovial, expansive beneficence. You would have a tendency to go overboard in your enthusiasm for a new system of handling your day-to-day life. The new diet, the new exercise program, the new ideas presented for peak efficiency at work, all of these would gain your enthusiastic support. You would be seen as the eternal optimist, full of infectious good humor at your place of work. As an example, imagine that you have Jupiter and Aries in the sixth house. Jupiter is teaching you that you need to use a jovial, benevolent, and generous manner, Jupiter, when it comes to interacting with your co-workers and bosses, sixth house. The details of how you do this are Aries in nature. This means that you show a dynamic enthusiasm to start new things, Aries. Co-workers and superiors are enthused and impressed with your dynamic approach to new concepts for the running of the company efficiently. As far as your health habits go, you might have a tendency to eat too much, but would still manage to enthusiastically start new diet regimes to enhance your health. Spend some time using the above keyword method to think about what Jupiter and the other zodiacal signs in the sixth house would be like. Write down your own thoughts about all of this, starting with Jupiter and Aries in the sixth house. Read what you've written on this, then close your eyes and go into a short contemplation and see what else comes to you. Continue with the rest of the Jupiter positions through the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. See what else you can come up with for a richer, deeper experience. Then spend the rest of the day with a thought gently in the back of your mind of the meanings of Jupiter in all the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. Saturn in the sixth house. Saturn is the stern teacher of hard knocks. As the saying goes, rock bottom is a college education. Saturn wants us to have this rock bottom experience so that we can work long and hard to overcome it. The gift of Saturn is to achieve incredible success, confidence, and self-esteem through hard work in the areas of life that were the hardest in the beginning. When Saturn is in the sixth house, you have learned to establish good health and fitness habits because you had to in order to overcome health problems that would have plagued your early life. At work, you would be known as a humorless, strict worker that can accept enormous amounts of responsibility without flinching. You were made for work, and accomplishing great amounts of it in a day fills you with deep satisfaction. As an example, imagine that you have Saturn in Gemini in the sixth house. Saturn is teaching you to use discipline, responsibility, and seriousness, Saturn, in your work and health habits, sixth house. The details of how you do this are Gemini in nature. What this means is that you intellectually cover all the details of any project in great depth to determine the best course of action on the job. Your quick, versatile mind suits you well to be a problem solver on the job. When it comes to your health and fitness habits, you research the latest ideas and then formulate a rigid habit pattern that you stick to in these areas that is based on sound intellectual analysis. Gemini. Spend some time using the above keyword method to think about what Saturn and the other zodiacal signs in the sixth house would be like. Write down your own thoughts about all of this, starting with Saturn and Aries in the sixth house. Read what you've written on this, then close your eyes and go into a short contemplation and see what else comes to you. Continue with the rest of the Saturn positions to the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. See what else you can come up with for a richer, deeper experience. Then spend the rest of the day with the thought gently in the back of your mind of the meanings of Saturn in all the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. Uranus in the sixth house. Uranus symbolizes the intuitive, creative, collective mind of humanity. Its energies are of sudden bolts of knowledge that seem to come from the very air surrounding them. Genius and madness, as the saying goes, are never far apart. Because of Uranus's energies are beyond mundane reality and reach into the collective, a person who has Uranus in the sixth house will make you wonder which side of the genius and madness fence they're residing upon. Original and eccentric, Uranus does not care what others think or what society thinks. All it cares about is that the new, inventive, and original idea is expressed. When Uranus is in the sixth house, you are always coming up with crazy new ideas of how to do things better and more efficiently at work. As far as your health habits are concerned, these are highly individual, of course. As an example, you might decide to do water aerobics wearing flippers on your feet and hands in order to stimulate the muscle movements of a fish for a better workout. You would also be the first to try out any new vitamin and mineral concept to see for yourself if it works for you. As an example, imagine that you have Uranus in Virgo in the sixth house. Uranus is teaching you that you need to be a nonconformist and that you must be an individual who is authentic to your higher self, regardless of what society may think. Uranus. This can manifest itself as the eccentric at work, the person who is always wanting to try the newest and often the craziest ideas for increasing the efficiency on the job. Sixth house. The details of how you do this are Virgo in nature. What this means is that you have a mind that can focus on the details of any new routine on the job. It also means that you would be very concerned about the office recycling their garbage. You might come up with some highly unique methods of recycling. In your health routines, you would want to work out the details of any new ahead of its time health routine that you decide to follow. The nuttier, the better. Spend some time using the above keyword method to think about what Uranus and the other zodiacal signs in the sixth house would be like. Write down your own thoughts about all of this, starting with Uranus and Aries in the sixth house. Read what you've written on this, then close your eyes and go into a short contemplation and see what else comes to you. Continue with the rest of the Uranus positions through the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. See what else can come to you for a richer, deeper experience. Then spend the rest of the day with a thought gently in the back of your mind of the meaning of Uranus and all the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. Neptune in the sixth house. Neptune symbolizes the collective emotions of humanity. Its energies are of mystical, unconditional love. It dissolves all barriers and all sense of duality into peak feelings of universal oneness with all of life and the Creator. When Neptune is in the sixth house, your relationship with your co-workers and superiors has an elusive dreaminess about it. People in your work environment would perceive you as wishy-washy or not having a firm stance about anything. In your health habits, you would want to follow a good health regime, but somehow the discipline to do this is lacking. You dream of being fit and healthy, but have a difficult time actually doing the work that would get you there. Substance abuse problems may also plague you. As an example, imagine that you have Neptune and Scorpio in the sixth house. Neptune is teaching you that you need to base your being upon the principles of unconditional love and spiritual awareness. Neptune. Your relationships with your co-workers and your daily health routines are filled with dreamy, wishful thinking of an ideal world. Sixth house. The details of this are Scorpio in nature. This means that you spend a lot of your time dreaming about utopian ideas for your work environment and your physical health regimes in an intensely emotional way. When these dreams of a perfect world do not manifest, you may take to mind altering substances in an effort to escape from the sordid reality of your life. Spend some time using the above keyword method to think about what Neptune and the other zodiacal signs in the sixth house would be like. Write down your own thoughts about all of this, starting with Neptune and Aries in the sixth house. Read what you've written on this, then close your eyes and go into a short contemplation and see what else comes to you. Continue with the rest of the Neptune positions through the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. See what else you can come up with for a richer, deeper experience. Then spend the rest of the day with the thought gently in the back of your mind of the meanings of Neptune in all the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. Pluto in the sixth house. Pluto symbolizes deep psychological forces, death, rebirths, and quite simply power. Its energies are intense, powerful, and life-changing. Pluto is not concerned with what society or others think. All it cares about is that this purging of dead aspects of your being takes place. When Pluto is in the sixth house, deep undercurrents permeate your relationships with coworkers and bosses. Power struggles and manipulations may be a big part of your work environment. You might work in the nuclear power industry. Your health habits are taken very seriously, and in almost an obsessive factor, you follow your health routines to the letter. As an example, imagine that you have Pluto in Cancer in the sixth house. Pluto is teaching you that you need to develop strong, powerful relationships with your co-workers and bosses, sixth house. The details of how you do this are Cancer in nature. This means that you tend to be moody and secretive, Cancer. Power and money are important to you, and you manipulate circumstances at work to ensure that you have plenty of both. In your health regimes, you have an emotionally protective instinct towards health routines that you follow with intense seriousness. The reason for this is that you know that health is power and you will do all that you can to preserve it. Spend some time using the above keyword method to think about what Pluto and the other zodiacal signs in the sixth house would be like. Write down your own thoughts about all of this, starting with Pluto and Aries in the sixth house. Read what you've written on this, then close your eyes and go into a contemplation, and see what else comes to you. Continue with the rest of the Pluto positions through the zodiacal signs in the sixth house. See what else you can come up with for a richer, deeper experience. Then spend the rest of the day with the thought gently in the back of your mind of the meanings of Pluto in all the zodiacal signs in the sixth house.